The late economist Milton Friedman was one of the boldest and most provocative figures of our time. He was born in 1912, making this the 100th anniversary of his birth. Milton Friedman received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1976, and as a professor at the University of Chicago, he transformed a generation of economists. It's safe to say his work influenced the entire field. He was an author and an advisor to several presidents. His ideas won him millions of advocates and opponents all over the world. While some place a greater emphasis on financial equality, Friedman advocated economic liberty. In 1980, he shared his ideas with millions of TV viewers in the landmark PBS series, Free to Choose. Hi, I'm Emily Rooney, and here, surrounded by images of the University of Chicago, Milton's intellectual home, we'll engage four distinguished guests in a discussion of the relevance of Friedman's ideas today. Americans are universally committed to the idea of equality, but in practice that means different things. Some think equality means little without equal outcomes. Others, like Milton Friedman, believe equality means equal treatment before the law and spoke out against government attempts to guarantee equal outcomes. He argued that only equality of opportunity would lead to freedom and prosperity. So what is equality? In his 1980 landmark series, Free to Choose, Friedman wrestled with that question in a program called Created Equal. In the next hour, we will too with our panelists. Walter Williams, a professor of economics at George Mason University. Matthew Iglesias, a fellow at the Center for American Progress. And Shika Dalmia, a senior analyst at the Reason Foundation. And John Bowman, president of the Sargent Shriver National Center on Poverty Law. So welcome to all of you. All right, well, first, Milton Friedman went to Thomas Jefferson's home, Monticello, which vividly illustrates Jefferson's contradictions over the meaning of equality.
It was Jefferson who wrote these words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness."
What he meant by the words equal can be seen in the phrase endowed by their Creator. To Thomas Jefferson, all men are equal in the eyes of God. They all must be treated as individuals who have each separately a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, practice did not conform to the ideals in Jefferson's life or in ours as a nation. He agonized repeatedly during his lifetime about the conflict between the institution of slavery and the fine words of the Declaration. Yet, during his whole life, he was a slave owner.
During the 19th century, and especially after the Civil War and on into the 20th century, the idea of equality came more and more to mean that everyone should have the same opportunity to make what he could of his capacities, that all careers should be open to people on the basis of their talents, independently of the race or religion or belief or social class that characterized them. This concept of equality of opportunity offers no conflict at all with the concept of freedom. On the contrary, they reinforce one another, and it is no doubt the concept that even today is most widely held. But in the 20th century, beginning especially abroad, and at a later date in this country, a very different concept, a very different ideal has begun to emerge. That is the ideal that everyone should be equal in income, in level of living, in what he has. The idea that the economic race should be so arranged that everybody ends at the finish line at the same time, rather than that everyone starts at the beginning line at the same time. This concept raises a very serious problem for freedom. It is clearly in conflict with it, since it requires that the freedom of some be restricted in order to provide greater benefits to others.